Go.
Hello, my name is Letitia Gallon, and today I chose to give the biography of Elizabeth Coleman. A lot of you may be wondering, who is Elizabeth Coleman? Well, I'm going to take the time to tell you all about her. Simply put, she was the first African American female aviator. I will tell you a little bit about her childhood and her life before she actually began school. Then I will tell you a little bit about her school, and then I will tell you about her career and ultimately her death. Elizabeth Coleman, better known as Bessie, was born January 26, 1892, in Atlanta, Texas. That's about 121 years ago. It's a long time ago. So she was one of 13 children born to George and Susan Coleman. As a child, she enjoyed school. She usually had to walk 4 miles to get there every day. She enjoyed reading, and also she excelled in mathematics. When Bessie turned 18 years old, she enrolled in Langston University in Langston, Oklahoma. She was unfortunately only able to attend there for 1 year before she had to quit because she ran out of money, and she went back to Texas. When she turned 23, she moved to Chicago, Illinois to live with her brothers. When she got to Chicago, she began working at a barber shop as a manicurist, and it was there that she began to fall in love with aviation. There were a lot of World War I pilots that would come in, get their haircuts, and they would also talk about their flights during World War I, and that's where she sparked an interest in aviation. She tried to enroll in aviation schools throughout the U.S., but unfortunately, because she was an African American and also because she was a female, she wasn't allowed to. A close friend of hers, gave her the idea to study abroad. So she attended classes to learn French, and then she sailed to Paris, France on November 20th, 1920. By June 15th, 1921, she became the first African American aviator and also the first American aviator to graduate from an aviation school in France. She trained for 2 additional months before she actually set sail back to New York City, United States. Commercial pilots weren't something that you saw a lot of. Usually you only saw planes for wars or just for transport. So there weren't a lot of things that she could do with her aviation pilot's license. So she became a stunt pilot. She used her training to perform daring stunts at air shows for paying spectators. Bessie became well known as Queen Bess, the world's greatest female flyer. She performed her first air show on September 3rd, 1922, in honor of the African American 369th Infantry Regiment of World War I. Bessie was fulfilling her dream of becoming a pilot, but she also had a second dream, and that dream was to open an aviation school for African Americans who also wanted to learn to fly. Unfortunately, Queen Bess would not live long enough to carry out her second dream. On April 30th, 1926, while preparing for an air show in Jacksonville, Florida, Bessie was performing the trial flight so that she could get a look at the terrain and the airfield before, because she was planning to parachute out of the cockpit of her plane. While she was looking over this cockpit seal, the plane began to nosedive to the ground, and she tried to pull up as well as her co-pilot, but unfortunately the plane began to spiral and she was thrown from the plane because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. She fell to her death, unfortunately, and her co-pilot also died when the plane hit the ground. Bessie was only 34 years old at the time of her death. It was later discovered that a wrench was jammed underneath the gearbox, and that caused the plane to spin uncontrollably. About 10,000 people were there to memorialize her death, being that she was the first African American aviator. So I talked about her life. I talked about her getting her aviation pilot's license, and also about her untimely death.